This episode is brought to you by Levitt Pavilion. If you somehow haven't made it to a show at Levitt, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's my favorite place to watch live music outside in Denver, bar none. And it's the spot for free, all-ages concerts in beautiful Ruby Hill Park, which is just 10 minutes from downtown. The next free show is Heartless Bastards on August 4th, but there's a ton of great acts coming through. Like on August 10th, Levitt is hosting the All My Relations Celebration, which is a festival showcasing indigenous art from different tribes and diverse genres. You can see Levitt Pavilion's whole summer lineup and get your tickets at levittdenver.org. That's Levitt Denver.org.
Today on CityCast Denver, a truly epic wedding fail in Aspen has got us thinking about the local wedding biz. What are the makings of a great Colorado wedding anyway? Me, our host Bree Davies, and our Green Chili and politics correspondent Justine Sandoval are talking weddings, wins and fails, and our best bets for your weekend. Today is Friday, August 4th. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the city where the bus is free, if it would get here already.
Zing!
Is that a little harsh?
That was a little harsh. Truth hurts.
That's what I had a few options, and I ran them past our producer, Olivia, and she was like, that one's true, though. Her train was late.
Olivia takes the train, so she's the most qualified to speak on this. But, I mean, I don't know. I've been curious. Justine, you talk at length about being a young person and really appreciating the bus as an option when you couldn't drive or you didn't have a car. What do you think about the free fare for kids now?
I love it. It's like one of the best things I've heard all week.
Yeah.
I rode the bus everywhere because my dad told me if I didn't behave in school, I wouldn't be able to get my driver's license. And so I was like, bye. The bus is 75 cents. I'm gone. And I didn't get a driver's license till I was like 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, the bus used to be a lot more dependable too. So I see all the issues around that as well. Like
They
RTD,
cut the major lines going in and out of my neighborhood when I was a kid. Your neighborhood, Paul. So there's no way.
I used to know, I probably still do know most of the major bus lines by heart, but it was great. It was freedom. You could walk down to 35th and Federal and catch the number 31 every 20 minutes. And I could go downtown, I can go up north, I could do all sorts of things. So I loved it growing up, and I liked that freedom. And I think a lot more of like our youth depend on the bus to get to school now, to get to jobs. So this just helps alleviate that and help our young people get from point A to point B more efficiently.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's cool. We should probably say RTD is, this is about the RTD change that they're, after the zero fare for free air 2-month period is over, which we're in the middle of. They made it free for kids for always, which is great. What lines, what streets in the neighborhood?
There used to be one that ran down Holly, like every 20 minutes.
That would be better.
Yeah.
That would be more
doesn't
useful.
exist anymore.
Damn. I feel like such an RTD Grinch sometimes. Like, I don't want to be. I am optimistic. I think it's awesome that kids can ride for free forever. That's a good policy.
I had to take it to school for like 3 months because my cousin got grounded and his car got taken away, and he was the one that took me to school. And he was in the Volkswagen club at school because he's the one that owns the Volkswagen shop. Mm-hmm. And they all parked like it was a car show at the back of the lot. So like if you had a Volkswagen, you could park all angled because they just decided that. Sure. Someone recognized me from that. Someone was like, "Oh, wasn't your cousin like Sam in the car club?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that's my cousin."
Dang.
It was sweet. It was a pretty cool ride to school too. Super Beetle. It was pretty sweet.
Dang.
I know.
Very cool. All right, well, we're here. It's Friday.
We're in the 5280 Magazine Studios in beautiful downtown Denver at 16th and Larimer Street, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. Justine, I wanted to ask you a question before we get into our main topic. We put out a really fun episode about hot dogs this week. Do you have a favorite hot dog locally?
Oh, gee, wow, that's a loaded question.
I thought you might have a good take.
No, I do. I like some biker gyms. That's where you all went, right? Yeah. No, that has been a staple in Denver for a long time, and they popped up on Auraria campus when I was still in college. So it was always nice when you'd get like your loan refund or your paycheck to go out and get a reindeer dog.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I will say my favorite hot dog probably is the Rockies dog at Coors Field.
Interesting.
You're a Rockies gal.
I never had one.
The good one though, because sometimes they have like the little sad ones, but it's like the big, like,
it's like a foot long.
Yeah, it's the foot long with the peppers and everything. I enjoy myself.
I'll have to get one of those.
You know this dog, Brie?
I
Have you
don't.
ever had one?
I don't, but I will eat a hot dog pretty much
like
from
$50,
anywhere, so.
but it's delicious.
$50?
No,
Yeah, but
I don't know.
No, but you know how it's like when you go to the stadium or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like when I get a pretzel at Ball Arena, it's like $17.
Yeah.
You know, they have like Dodger dogs at Dodger Stadium. They have like the Yankee. Well, I guess the fact that I don't know the name means it's not a thing. But Dodger dogs. I like that there's a Rockies dog. I just never knew that. That's cool.
Yeah.
It seems perfect. I mean, it's.
Well, if I'm going to go to the Rockies
fair
game,
of a Rockies game,
which I haven't in a while because
you gotta
I don't
go
get into the
back.
Rockies, but
The new rules. The new rules are worth it alone.
Oh,
For
yeah,
one
Paul's
visit,
really
I'm a
selling
huge fan of the new baseball rules.
yeah, well, that's what I've heard. I think that's the silver lining in the Rockies year is like at least you don't have to sit there all night and
Exactly.
watch the disaster go down.
just party.
So let's get into our top story here. This is just such a fun one because it's wedding season in Colorado, especially in the high country where the vistas are beautiful, the catering is pricey, and the mishaps are disastrous. As we learned this week in Business Den, apparently there's also a lot of competition for these best wedding spots too. There's lots of interesting data. I collected some good numbers for us.
Okay.
But there's this story about the Aspen wedding we all read. Where do you all want to start?
I mean, we could just lay it out. It was like a rich guy throwing a wedding for his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
He
The
spent
nuptials of Ariel Spencer and Caleb Hodge.
Yeah, those people. I guess they're important. I don't know.
I don't know.
He's probably a real estate guy.
Son of a hedge fund
And a real
magnate
estate
or something.
mogul.
Yeah, real
But
estate.
they spent like $2 million on their wedding in Aspen, and it was like a disaster, which I just have to point out the big problem here was the sound. and if you've ever been to an event with bad sound, you know, because you remember how bad it was. Like bad sound, bad acoustics. I mean, all of that will just be seared to your memory forever. So I can kind of see why this dude went off the rails. Like, you ruined my daughter's wedding because the sound went bad. It pushed the itinerary back. This is the most rich people problem I've ever heard. It screwed up if the gondola was running long enough for people to get up and down the mountain. Like, oh goodness, my the gondola problem, right? Of course. Nelly was performing. I so want to know what his rate is. I want to know what
I wanted to ask you too what you thought. I was going to guess
no
$500,000.
clue. Yeah, I was guessing $250,000
For the top of a mountain in Aspen.
I was guessing $250,000 for a Nelly level.
What do you think, Justine?
Maybe less.
I'm
100,000.
I have no clue, but my prediction would be like 200,000, 250.
Well, listeners, if you know Nelly's rate for a wedding, let us know. We'll give out the phone number later in the show.
I'll ask my old roommate Ruben because he books people.
Oh,
he would know.
Hell
But I
yeah!
was always surprised at people's booking rates. Like when I used to work at CU Denver in student life, we would come in and someone would be like, "Hey, so-and-so is only $10,000 to book." And we'd be like, let's get them in here.
Whoa!
Yeah, we tried to bring Condoleezza Rice one time and she wanted like $150,000.
You're like, no.
Yeah, so it was
And
like,
didn't she? Isn't she
was
from here?
She went to DU.
She went to DU.
We thought this would be
No
great.
love.
It'll help the whole, like, we don't bring enough, like, mixed, like, views in. Like, let's bring Condi in. And then she wanted her jet and $150,000. And we were like, I don't know if that was the exact amount, but it was wild. And we were like, sorry. So
She's a big deal. I didn't realize. Holy cow!
I don't think Nelly's that big of a deal. So I would guess
Okay.
his
I'm
part
gonna
of
take
it.
my rate down now I think about it. I might take it down.
I don't think he was a big part of this. But the other part was, I read that TMZ reported that the couple is already divorcing.
Yeah,
So
kind of a funny cherry on top. Well, it sounds like an absolutely disastrous wedding. I mean, sometimes I don't know. That's what people say, right? Like if the wedding's bad. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know if I've
what
ever really been to an absolutely terrible wedding.
Oh yeah.
No, I really tried to rack my brain for this. Did you have a bad wedding story?
Honestly,
Paul?
also no. I've only been to beautiful Colorado weddings.
Yeah,
It's
I've been to
typically
really
quite good.
lovely ones.
Justine, do you have a story about a crazy wedding?
Actually, so what comes to mind is a wedding I went to maybe like 10 years ago with an ex of mine. It was his family. It was at the VFW on Colfax.
Oof,
and it was wild. It goes in my memory all the time because the bride showed up and then they did like a whole kidnap the bride thing. But then, well, first of all, she was like 3 hours late to the ceremony. So everyone was waiting around.
Oh,
yeah. And then they did that.
People wait that long.
Everyone had to wait. So to the point where people were like, forget the whole like wedding part. We're just going to go head to the reception and wait for you guys to get hitched. They get married. We're all waiting at the reception for her to show up. And for some reason, they still decide to do this like kidnap the bride tradition thing between the ceremony.
Which sounds terrifying.
It's horrible. And then it makes everyone wait longer. So by that time, the groom had been at the reception. The groom was hammered.
Yeah.
He was so messed up. He started hitting on all the bridesmaids. He started like trying to hook up with everyone at the reception while they waited for the bride to show up. And I remember just sitting in the back room, highly entertained, eating my paper plate of beans and chili. Like I'd also like to report they are no longer together either. So
I would guess not.
But I think it lasted longer than the Aspen marriage.
Yeah, that one was just a year. Apparently, this wedding all went down last year. It cost $2 million is the number.
I am blown. So I guess I would be remiss if I didn't say today is my anniversary.
Oh, hey,
which I forgot. My husband was like, "What do you want to do tonight?" I was like, "I'm going to a housing forum," and he was like, "Oh, well, it's our anniversary. I thought maybe we could go out to dinner," and I was like, "I'm the worst person in the world." So, by the time this airs, my anniversary will be over, but it is my anniversary. The $2 million thing is like, why? Like, why do you need to spend all that money on one day? Like I don't get it. I mean, I guess the gondola probably costs a lot of money.
But the gondola. I have a theory, and because this is maybe a good time for some of the data. I would love to hear what you all think about this. Axios Denver reported a couple months ago that weddings in Colorado are averaging a cost of $23,000 right now, and that number is going up.
What?
It's trending up. That
is so nuts to me.
Right?
I mean, we called in a favor and our wedding venue was only $150 in the year 2019. But I did make our 200 plus wedding guests sit in an unair conditioned church in August. So I guess that's the trade-off. But I would guess venue is really a huge chunk of what people are usually spending money on.
Oh, yeah. I was doing some wedding planning. But, that's kind of changed. But it's given me a great perspective because I was really looking into this the last year. And I was challenging myself, can you do a wedding for $15,000? But just looking at venues, even looking at cheaper venues and food together get you to $15,000 off the bat.
Just minimum.
Yeah. And I was blown away by that.
That is crazy.
So there's that data point, but then contrast that with this thing that I learned from the Denver Clerk and Recorder's Office. They track wedding registrations here in Denver.
Yeah.
And they said that, I counted this up, the first half of 2023, we've so far seen 2,378 registered marriages. That's down 1,000 from last year's same time period in Denver. So there's fewer weddings, but the weddings that there are more expensive.
Interesting. I mean, I'd say 50% of my friends are married and I'm in my 40s. So it's really not uncommon for people to not be married. But I also know, I think you went this route, Paul, the courthouse route.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a great memory for us. Megan and I got married at the courthouse. It was beautiful.
And it didn't cost you $15,000.
It cost us so little.
Right. So my husband's theory is most people don't get to be on stage in their lives. So your wedding's the one day you get to be on stage and people clap for you. And unlike him, who he gets paid for people to clap at him all the time.
Well, I mean, that makes sense because after a certain age, if you don't get married, what really other celebration
do people have
do you
for
have?
You?
Yeah.
So I get it. It's your one big day. I just think, I don't know. It just seems like such a weird thing to spend a ton of money on, but we went cheap in random ways so that we spent most of our money on music, honestly. But like we got our cake at Costco. We got our flowers at Costco. Because the cake especially, I was like, why am I going to spend $1 gazillion on a cake no one's going to eat? Like we ended up with so much extra cake and like we just got a couple sheet cakes from Costco that cost us like $20 a piece or something. Because it was just
Love
like
a sheet cake.
I mean, kind of. At the end of the day, is it that much different than that like fondant covered insanity that people spend thousands of dollars on? I don't know. I don't know.
It's weird because after the pandemic, there was this talk in the wedding industry, like people were waiting. So then there was going to be this big boom. But now it looks like that's not happening quite so much anymore. Like the people that were waiting, they did it. And now there's not
like my
a return.
Two of my girlfriends that were going to get supposed to like planning their weddings during like right before the pandemic hits. They just did the courthouse or the backyard. Ditched it all.
I think it alleviates the stress. Look at these people planned. Their original budget was $1 million.
And then it went to $2 million.
And I'm like, oh, that's like my original budget was 20 and going to 40. Well, would be crazy. Well, not me personally, because I was like, even looking at that price, like, why? I think as you get older too, and you're thinking about other investments, you're like, I want to put 20 grand into this. I don't know. Like
for one day.
Yeah, there's so many other things. But yeah, the fact that they went from 1 million to 2 million, I'm just like,
I think
it boggles the mind.
I think the lawsuit is just like kind of ridiculous because if you can spend $2 million on a wedding, I think you're fine. It sucks that it got ruined, but it seems like it's the principle. They're not fighting over the money.
That's what it seems like to me too. I hope they're enjoying it. I hope they all get what they want out of it. Well, listeners, we would love to hear from you. We want to hear your crazy Colorado wedding stories. I know. I
want to hear some more like mountaintop weddings.
Bonkers. Yeah, the bride fell off a cliff, or I don't know. Hopefully not that.
Or like the people. Like I have a Twitter friend, Sharon, that did the ski down the mountain.
Oh, that's fun.
In her wedding dress with her husband, kind of thing.
Yeah, so we want to hear your stories. Call the Wedding Fail hotline and leave us a message with your name and neighborhood, and you might hear it on an upcoming show. That number is 720-500-5418. Again, 720-500-5418.
I just by the time this comes out, I should just say happy belated anniversary. Greg, I love you. I'm sorry that I forgot about our anniversary. But I did listen to Nate.
We all love you, Greg.
I listened to Nate Dogg on the way in today, and we had a Nate Dogg song sang.
A little tribute.
Yeah, at our wedding.
Nice.
So.
All right, well, we're going to go to a quick break. Bree's going to call her husband, and we'll be back.
This episode is brought to you by the American Museum of Western Art. This Wednesday, August 2nd, from 3 to 4 p.m., the American Museum of Western Art will host Pioneer Music of the Mountain West, presented by Swallow Hill. Waves of explorers and settlers all contributed to the Mountain West's musical heritage, including various acoustic and folk traditions. During this performance, musicians will share songs of mountain men, ranchers, miners, and farmers, and you'll even get a chance to play period-relevant instruments. Tickets are just $10 and can be purchased online at anschutzcollection.org or at the door.
All right, and we're back. We're going to do a round of our favorite new segment, Wins and Fails. So we each picked a story or something we saw around the city that we thought was a win and something we thought was a fail, and we're going to talk about them. Let's do fails first. Who wants to go?
Well, I'm kind of teetering the line here because it's not exactly a local fail, but it impacts us locally, and it's the change from Twitter to X. Like,
it does impact a lot of people here.
It does.
At this table.
Yes. Well, first of all, it's like changes because we used to tweet, right? It's like the action of tweeting.
Yeah.
Like you can't tweet anymore. You can't retweet. It's just so weird. X. It looks like now on my phone that I'm like in an X-rated dating.
I have heard this from several people being like, I don't want this app on my phone. Yeah. But I also think the local implications are like, it's huge. It's where you find out
it's
a lot of
taking
times
seriously.
Where you find news first, I would say, is sometimes like people on the ground reporting stuff first, like not just reporters, but people. And I think that's Paul and I were talking about this earlier, the struggle to find a new platform to utilize the way that Twitter was utilized just doesn't exist yet.
No,
because it's all siloed into different type, like if you're in this Discord or you're in this Mastodon, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean?
Blue Sky.
But like with Twitter, it was like reporters and people
in
the world.
I mean, it was activists. It was
the Arab Spring happened on, you know what I mean? Like Twitter really, Black Lives Matter helped facilitate information. The spread of information.
Co-politics was like a huge part of like what I've done.
Yeah, Colorado politics. Totally.
Colorado politics. That's where conversations about policy go on. We remember the Ink Coffee situation. That blew up on Twitter.
Yeah. Talk about that. That was an important moment for the progressive movement in this city in the last 5-10 years.
Rue Johnson may have been the first person to tweet just a photo of it.
Rue was walking down Larimer Street and
it just said,
saw the sign and was like, what the hell
happily
is this?
Happily
gentrifying the neighborhood since 2010 or 2012. I don't know. When did gentrification start?
An Aspen-based coffee chain, Ink Coffee, by the way. To draw a little connection to our wedding fail from earlier. How about that? But anyway, that was like, Aonte Anderson was there, gave a speech. Like people came out. I remember it was a crazy day.
You and I were there. I'm trying to think who else was there. Candy was there probably. A lot of folks really came out of that moment. Like that was just a galvanizing moment.
I think that's where we really met too and started like working together
in the streets.
Yep.
But it's X now.
In the streets.
And now it's X and
now it's
X. That will never happen
Maybe
again.
it'll happen in a different way.
I mean, and
for different people.
I'm still there reluctantly.
Well, if anyone wants to come hang out with me on the CityCast Denver subreddit that one of the listeners created in perhaps the best day of my life.
Yeah, Paul really felt vindicated. He was like, did you know that we have a subreddit? And it was not created by us.
I found it. I was so excited.
Because Paul's a Reddit bro, so.
Yeah.
I do still love some Reddit.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. And that community is picking up. People are commenting.
I'm a voyeur of Reddit. I can't look at it.
I like Reddit because I watch a lot of reality TV.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll go back and watch old episodes of stuff. And I'm like, is anyone else outraged about this season 6, episode 3 of Below Deck?
Yes.
Like, gotta go look. I'm like, no, it is Sandy. And,
I think that's the magic of Reddit is like, it is this like archive of humanity in this amazing way. The only problem is like, I don't know. Anytime I'm on there, the tone of it is just too bro-y for me. It's just not unless you're in your hyper-specific
you gotta choose
subreddit.
The right subreddits.
Bravo Reddit's a different world.
I'm in the 30 Rock Reddit. You know what I mean? But like, if I just look on the Denver one, I'm like, I can't hang here.
Yeah, Denver's got a specific voice. Sometimes also when they grow too big, they take on that like caricature of themselves.
Yeah.
And people reinforce it and it becomes a lot less fun. But that's not what this show's about. We should move on to another fail about Denver. Bree?
I mean, this story that Kyle Harris did for Denver this week about the death of Darius Davis, a young gentleman who died by suicide last year. It happened while he was being evicted. And his family was like unaware that he was struggling with his finances because the story is just absolutely heartbreaking. His mom was like, if I would have known, I would have helped. His uncle tried to help. And then the thing is like, when you hear these stories of someone being evicted, you don't really get a complete picture of who they are. And I really Kyle did this great, just like piece on who Darius was to his family, to his community. He had a podcast where he talked about mental health for young black men. But it just like struck me. One, it struck me because losing someone to suicide is one of the most devastating things I've ever experienced. When I lost my friend to suicide, it was the 2 weeks after that, I don't remember. I just wandered through the world. And also now being a mom, I can't imagine what Darius's mother went through and is continuing to go through. But I think the overarching part of this conversation for Denver is, what are we doing to our people? That this is what the lengths that this young guy was 1 month behind on rent, and it just triggered the eviction process for this massive property owning company that employs this huge eviction law firm who were, that's supported by the Colorado Apartment Association, which was one of the main supporters of the no eviction without representation that didn't pass. No eviction without representation didn't pass. And we lose people like Darius when they don't have the support, but also just like, why are we not prioritizing people living here affordably? it shouldn't mean that somebody loses their life. And I just want to give so much love to Darius's family. And I'm sorry that something that feels very preventable happened to them.
That was such a tragic story. I think it's that point you were making about the evictions business, why that's such an industry that people make a lot of money off of, that really stuck with me, that I think I'm going to remember. Because it doesn't feel, it feels like that maybe shouldn't be the way it is. Justine, what do you think?
I think a lot of times when we talk about health and we talk about housing, we don't necessarily connect them, but public health and housing go hand in hand. And we've seen studies where, people who, get evicted after not being able to pay 1 month's rent go through a series of health issues, from not just mental health, but their physical health fails. And it can be years until they recover. It's such a big part of that. And as a society, I don't think we often make that connection that the well-being of people really does depend on housing.
Safe
housing. I mean, since you're from children to adults, we know that being able to have a place to put your head every night in the same place consistently makes for more healthy human beings. And we as a society look away from that in all sorts of things. The fact that we don't have healthcare for people universally, this is just another connection to that. And it's so tragic and so sad. And you see so many people struggling and reluctant to ask for help because so many other people are struggling too. You don't want to be a burden to someone, or you don't want to take that extra step.
Or you don't want to show that you're struggling. And that's what his family talked about, was like he was so good at putting on a front that everything was fine that a lot of them didn't know. And I think there's this pressure to be an adult and like handle it and be an adult. And like he was paying like $1,200 a month for like a studio apartment. That's not your failure as an adult. This is the society we live in where that's how expensive it is to live in Denver. And like, these are the things that folks need to think about when we complain about seeing people on the street. How do you think they got there? I've never been evicted. Have you guys been evicted?
No.
Okay. I've never lost my housing. I was lucky enough to grow up in the same house. That was my home until my mother sold it in my 30s. Some people, their housing changes every 6 months, every 3 months, every couple of weeks. Imagine having to go to work after someone came to your house and took everything out and put it on the lawn and changed the locks on your doors. Also, now you have to go to work. Like we have to understand, like you said, it compounds and compounds, and it puts these stressors on people that they carry for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I will say, I guess I'm technically a landlord. I think that's like the worst word ever, but I have a duplex and I have someone who rents next door to me. But, he's had a hard time because the world is difficult at the moment. Well, it's always difficult, but I like let him pay through the whole month, whatever, week to week, because the idea too of like going through evicting someone, it's stressful. I think it would be more like time consuming on me, and I would rather
an ethical person.
Yeah, I guess that's the difference.
That's the reality. Is like you're not. I think of you as a highly ethical person, Justine, who's not going to boot somebody who just, you know what I mean? Like you'd have conversations. And that's what struck me about this story was he was a month behind.
Yeah.
He wasn't 6 months, a month.
No, during the pandemic, I was like, figure it out because we're both in this crazy situation and let me know. And, I forgave like the months I could. Also, I think, there's just this idea that it's just all about profit. And like, if you have extra space to share rent with someone, you should be humane about it. And that's what I try to do personally. And I wish a lot more people would take that cue because it's about people. It's not about profit.
Well, I guess that means it's my turn. And I am actually still undecided on whether or not I think this is a fail or a win. So I'm sorry about bending the rules on that, but it's Broncos season soon. The Broncos are coming back. It's time for that again. They're at training camp, I guess. And the new coach, Sean Payton, who every time I talk about it, I have to mention there is a Hollywood biopic starring Kevin James as Sean Payton available to watch anytime you want.
Starring Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Paul Blart Mall Cop as the new Broncos head coach, which is so funny to me. He gave an unhinged interview about the old Broncos coach who now works for the New York Jets like a week and a half ago, where he was like, this is the worst coach job of the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was. This guy Hackett, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's terrible. And he's like trying to pump up his players. But I thought this was like so...
That's the worst approach.
So out of pocket for an NFL coach to get that like personal.
I mean, not to bring it back to the Nuggets as I am wont to do, but like take a cue from Michael Malone.
Your colleagues.
Speak positively to your team, not drag the old coach. That's the But I do love unhinged rants, though. I do enjoy a good unhinged rant.
That's why I'm undecided. It's like, I'm definitely going to watch when the New York Jets come to town now.
We're going to see how the Broncos do.
Yeah. Who knows? Hopefully.
Steve is like,
You don't have high hopes?
You know, I've lost interest, which is hard to say as a lifelong, like, Broncos are life. And my grandparents have a Broncos bar.
Yeah.
So, like, but I think they're all feeling it, like, too. Like, we'll see. We've had bad years before, so.
Yeah.
They got low expectations. That might be the fun of it. Anyway, let's go on to wins. Who wants to start with a win?
I can start.
Hit us with your win, Brie.
I mean, I have a sort of housing-related conversation that there's now going to be trash pickup for... is that yours too?
Oh, great. Oh,
yeah,
I
we
love
both
that.
talk about this.
Heck yeah.
For some homeless encampments, there's going to be trash pickup. And this has been a thing that has been talked about for a long time. And I appreciated that Councilwoman Jamie Torres really brought it back. Like, yes, this is an current administration move, right? The Johnson administration is making this move to start doing trash pickups. But this idea really started back with Councilwoman Seidel pushing for it to be part of the budget, and not enough city council members would sign on to that idea. And so Jamie Torres was like, we just need to give credit where credit's due. But also Jamie said, I think the last administration was so hell-bent on standing their ground about the encampments that they wouldn't do anything to mess with that approach. Mm-hmm. And she's like, it's a no-duh situation.
Yeah.
You're complaining about the trash at encampments? Let's pick up the trash.
Yeah. I loved her quote, and I don't know it verbatim, but it was basically like the last administration didn't want to legitimize the camps by doing this, but this is just a very common sense approach. And that's why that was also my win, because I have been emphasizing to people, you don't like trash, you don't like people using the bathroom on the ground, but if you were at home and suddenly your trash bin was locked at night and you couldn't go to your restroom at night, what would you do? You don't know, like, what would you do?
Someone comes and picks up your trash.
Yeah.
Like, the city comes and picks up your trash. If they stopped doing that, you would be living with your trash. And so I think that parallel is so important. Housed people, unhoused people, we all create trash. There has been some criticizing about it being like a small part of a bigger like it's not solving the problem.
Yeah.
I would argue that it's starting. It's a starting point. It's something. There was a really interesting some quotes from a woman who lives in one of these encampments who goes by Badger, and she was asked if she would take a housing option if she got one, and her response was no, because I don't know if it would just be taken away again. So there's that PTSD we're talking about, where folks are still not sure that the systems will ever work for them. So they'd rather be able to be in control of their lives than think, I get settled, everything gets, and then the grant is gone or the funding's gone and my place is closed, like the Roadway Inn situation. So that was just, to me, was just speaking to the larger problem. But it's cool that we have something. We're starting with something.
Yeah. It's a good win. And what a fun coincidence that you both picked it.
Yeah. Well, to me, I remember on 27th and Arapahoe, before they built those new buildings there now, when it was just that field, like the big wonderful there, it was
that big empty field.
There was an encampment there, and they had somebody in the encampment who was like the mayor. And they did like Sunday cleanup where they would put their trash on the corner, but no one would collect it. So I think other neighbors are helping like put the trash in their bins. But it's this idea that we dehumanize people who are living in these encampments. They need the same resources as everyone else. And, you know, I've worked with Headwaters Protectors before, and they are actually a local group that was cleaning up different encampments every week. And the times that I volunteered with them, it's just purely collecting trash. And a lot of that trash is stuff people donate, like throughout the week, like dropping off food and like razors and stuff, like stuff people don't necessarily need, but they assume they know what these people in these encampments need, and it just creates more trash. So that side is also kind of contributing to the problem there. And it's because, you know, nobody talks to people who are there and say, what do you really need? And not just show up with like more garbage or waste.
I think that's a really great point, Justine. Is like, before we get all on our high horses about helping other people, maybe check in and see how would be best to help them. Because like you said, if you're just creating more trash for them, it's compounding their own problems. And that's why I'm always hesitant when people are like, put these care packages together and drop them off at encampments. Like, actually just check and see what's up. Hey, what do you guys need? You guys need water? Cool. You need trash bags? Because that's the other thing that some of these unhoused folks said was, we even try to take care of our trash, but then dumpsters are locked, so we can't even dispose of our own trash.
Know where to put it. So this is great.
I think
a great
step.
Awesome. Well, I'll go to wrap us up here. My win's pretty short. I talked a few weeks ago about a new brunch place on 32nd. Carrie Baird, the former top chef testant, as they request we use that word. That's what the Bravo Network says journalists should use, chef testant. Her new brunch place, the Fox and the Hen, is awesome. I've been twice now. I've explored the menu. The hash browns are a standout. The toast is, of course, great. That's the kind of the star of the whole thing. But
toast?
Fancy-ish toast is what the menu says. It's adorable.
I generally avoid toast because it's like, why bother?
Oh, at this place, the toast is the star.
Is it just like really good bread?
It's really good bread, but it's like toppings. It's like, avocado toast, maybe like pea sprouts. She does a ricotta jam French toast thing. She does a croque monsieur.
Sold.
Yeah.
So you're just going hard.
Yeah. It's so good. Oh, man. I can't wait for people to catch on to this place. And so I have more people to talk about it. The vibe is cool. It's like a cottagecore aesthetic. This is the north side, Justine. This is your shopping grounds. Is this interesting to you?
It's where ceviche was.
Well, you said, I remember ceviche fondly. But you had me at hash browns.
Oh, it's so good.
I love me some good hash browns, and I feel like there's not a lot of places anymore that
How do you
give
guys
quality.
like your hash browns, though?
Brown, golden, crispy, brown on each side.
Gooey in the middle.
Gooey in the middle.
I didn't know what I liked, really. This place, they do like, it's kind of like the style of the McDonald's hash brown, but like a really elevated one.
Okay.
So it's shaped,
love a McDonald's hash brown.
Pressed. It's uniformly crispy on the outside, soft, steaming hot on the inside, really well seasoned. I think they're hitting it on all cylinders at this place. It's fun. It's fun.
How long was the wait?
About a half hour. Okay. But it's a shady street. They got picnic tables. The whole thing, I think it might be a snooze killer.
Well, I think snooze. Well, I have opinions on snooze.
Hey, check it out and let me know what you think.
Okay. Sold.
All right. We got one more segment for you before we wrap up today. We're going to talk about the weekend.
What's up, weather fans? Time for your CityCast Denver weather forecast for this weekend. And, we just entered into August. This is typically one of our hotter months of the year. July, also one of our hotter months of the year. But we actually came in this past July slightly below average in the temperature department. And we were actually slightly below average in the precip department as well. It may not have felt like that to everybody, but that's just what was recorded out at the airport. Now, this weekend's looking actually pretty nice. We've had some storms this week. We're going to start to dry out a little bit. High temperatures are going to be in the mid-80s on Saturday, and we'll have an afternoon chance of storms. They'll be hit or miss. I would assume most people will be missed, to be honest. And then Sunday, we have a cold front that's going to swing through, and temperatures are not even going to get out of the 70s, but it should be mostly sunny with those afternoon clouds that are normal building up. But it is going to be a relatively cool end to the weekend, so y'all get out and enjoy this great Denver weather that we're about to have.
All right, we're back. It's time for the official CityCast Denver Maybe for your weekend, as in maybe you'll see us there, because as usual, there are so many cool things happening in Denver this weekend, but there's only one where you might see us. Peyton Garcia rounds up her best bets in our newsletter, Hey Denver, every week, and she's here to give us her top picks. Peyton, welcome back.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
All right, you ready?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so first thing, it's Denver Days.
Oh, that's right.
What is
My
this?
husband's hosting Barnum's Denver Day.
Oh my
Forgot.
gosh, how cool.
Oh.
So Denver Days is something that former Mayor Michael Hancock started 12 years ago. And it's a way for the community of Denver to get together and celebrate. That's it. It's a super simple concept. Citywide celebration of community. So there are dozens of free block parties, picnics, and volunteer opportunities happening across the city. All you have to do, as Bree kind of mentioned, is anyone can host a block party. You just have to register it with the city, and then you get to be put on their list. It's like 6 pages long of events that are happening throughout the city. Super cool. Just celebrating community. I have a link in the newsletter to the full list of events, but like Bree said, maybe stop by Barnum.
Yeah, the Barnum
Say
one
hi.
is on Saturday from 10 to 2, and it's in the parking lot of the Barnum Library. There'll be
What a cool
music, food, you can hang out.
Yeah, it happens all weekend.
free,
so that
all
one's really
ages.
flexible. You could, anywhere, anytime.
I'm kind of in the mood for that. Like some kind of like civic engagement, maybe some of the volunteering,
Yeah.
trash pickups. You guys
Yeah.
got me excited about that. Do something
Yeah.
like that. Be fun.
It's a fun one. Okay, next one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I have to ask, do any of you guys eat oysters?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was just at Angelo's last
All right.
weekend.
We got two oyster
Angela's.
freaks.
Oh, happy hour.
That's good to know because
The best.
Saturday is National Oyster Day. Yeah, and I bring it up because Jack's Fish House and Oyster Bar, which has multiple locations across the city and the metro area, they are hosting specials, oyster flights, oyster rolls, shooters, all day long. Their food truck is also going to be in a special surprise location that they have not announced. And if you find it,
Huh.
free oysters for as long as
Oh,
they
that's
last.
fun.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there's somewhere in the city,
Somewhere in the
there's
city.
going to be a truck with free oysters.
You've got it.
Oh, man.
That's an adventure right there.
So maybe go on a drive. Look for the Jack's Oyster truck.
These are two good choices
It's a
already.
fun one.
Oh, man. Peyton.
What else we got, Peyton?
Okay, next. Hops in the Hangar. So this is happening at Wings Over the Rockies Air and Space Museum, which I bring up regularly because it seems like such a cool museum. I've
It is
never
really cool.
gone.
Oh,
Underrated.
you know
Underrated
what? When
museum.
Benny's a little bigger,
He'd really
he'll
like it.
love it.
I think so too.
They
Have you gone?
I haven't been, but I heard from my wife who loved it. She said that they have a Harrison Ford theater there.
Oh.
Harrison Ford, the famous aviator. I thought that was so funny. Hans? Exactly, that's what it is. He's not in another movie about planes. He's there because he's Han
Really?
Solo and he flies a spaceship.
Oh,
I love that.
It is so funny.
I love that. Well, if you want an excuse to go, they are doing a beer festival there. So you'll be
so
able to
cool.
sample unlimited beer tastings from 19 local breweries, but there will also be ciders, seltzers, and non-alcoholic beverages.
see,
Plus
People
live
are-
music and
people are getting with it.
yeah,
I'm
and it's
into
in the
this.
hangar, so you can just like kind of sip on some beer and explore all of the really dope air and space memorabilia that they have
I
there.
love this because, like, a lot of times these events, I'm like, cool, okay, I guess I'll have a glass of water.
Yes.
But, like, you can go and drink and wander
And
around
more
too,
and
if you
more
don't
beer
drink.
festivals, I will say, are doing this where they offer a designated driver price, which is like a fraction of the actual
you.
price.
I
Yeah,
love
so you can
that.
still buy a
Too.
ticket and you can still get unlimited samples of the NA beverages that are there.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fun.
That's really
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
I appreciate that.
That
I know.
area of Lowry too is like that
been over
mixed
there in a
use
while.
development has matured.
It's
The
cool over
businesses
there.
are all there. There's a Torchy's, which I know I like and I know other people like, even though I won't. I know how you two feel, or I know how you three feel.
From Denver.
No, hey, I don't hate Torchies.
I mean, I don't mind their
Okay,
queso.
good. Thank you.
Yeah, I like them.
All right. Okay. All right.
I
Allowing
missed it when it
Torchy's.
was an Arby's.
There's
The
a
Broadway one was an Arby's.
Let me rephrase this.
I do
Attention,
love Arby's.
Torchy's Army. My fellow Torchy's super fans. There is a Torchy's in Lowry now, and it is good.
It is a cool
It is
area,
a great
though.
place to walk
So you
around
could
now,
go
yeah.
there and then go over to this Hops in the Hangar.
Yeah, and that's on Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. So maybe start your day early over there, get some lunch, check out the space. It's nice.
It is nice, though. I agree with you, Paul. The trees have matured.
Yeah.
It's- It feels like the
It's
neighborhood.
interesting.
Well,
It's nice.
Lowry was like pre Central Park and all
Yeah.
of that. Like that was
was
the
one of the
first like
first-
development that started to take over because it was all Air Force Base and
Yeah.
everything. Was it?
Yeah.
Or Army Base? I don't know.
Air Force, yeah.
Yeah, Air Force. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was closed off when I was a kid. I went to
Yeah.
the BX with my grandma there.
Oh yeah, I remember going and visiting when I was younger, and so yeah, that was like one of the first films. So I really like what they've done there.
I
It's
do
cool.
too.
If you want to really nerd out on urban design, you can drive from Lowry through that up to Central Park and see the 10-year shift in design philosophy. Because the way Lowry filled in was around these like hubs of businesses and mini malls, whereas Central Park is so much different. They have these keys of like shared green space behind the residences, but it's all still single family homes for the most part. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating.
That is
I
a
can
good
see
point,
it.
Paul.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
Spend your Saturday doing
Wandering
that.
around. Yeah, love it.
Okay, final thing is in Old Town Arvada. If you guys haven't spent any time in Old Town Arvada, it's a really
You've
fun
said
place
it's
to
got
hang.
some
Yeah,
good-
Yeah.
good
super fun.
restaurants.
And they have this place called the Bluegrass Coffee and Bourbon Lounge. I really like it. So during the day, it's a coffee lounge, and at night, it turns into a bourbon lounge where they usually have like live music. It's a really cool little spot. And anyways, they're celebrating their 8th birthday. And they are celebrating with a whole pig roast for the whole community.
That's fun.
So yeah, there's gonna be
That feels like a Paul thing.
special bourbon tastings, live music, giveaways, and lots and lots of good food to eat.
Old Town Arvada is cute.
It's such a fun spot.
Ever since they shut down to cars, it's
Yeah,
like
it's-
paradise.
Even yeah.
Again,
it's-
if you're an urban aficionado,
Absolutely.
good place to wander around.
So I mean, I loved all 4 of these events.
too.
That's a tough one.
That one's on Sunday, by the way, Sunday afternoon, 2 to 7.
So we have.
I've loved all of these. So we
Denver
have Denver
Days,
Days.
that made me feel really good. That warmed my heart.
Yeah.
Jack's Fish House and the Oyster Truck Search, which is
oysters. Oof.
very
Good-
compelling in its
yeah.
own way. Hops at the Hangar and a trip to Lowry and through history. The Bluegrass Coffee and Bourbon Lounge turns 8 with a pig roast.
Man, I mean, I'm going to be at Denver Days anyway, but
Right.
I like the options of that one though. It's anywhere in the city.
Maybe we should go. Maybe Denver Days in Barnum should be the one because
Yeah, you can
There
go see
you
Greg.
go. Yeah. All right, I like that.
I mean I feel like Greg's had a hard go today on the show.
I know.
Poor Greg.
I know. Sorry,
Greg
it's
a
our
wave.
anniversary.
Love you, Greg.
Yeah, go see Greg.
The Hops in the Hangar though. That's the
I
other
know,
one. That's
I
the one I think I might be
know.
like
Me
really
too.
quite. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Maybe that's our official, but our unofficial is Barnum Denver Days.
Justine, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay.
Well, there you have it.
That sounds good.
The official CityCast Denver may be for your weekend, but there's way more where that came from. Peyton's got plenty more recommendations in our newsletter, Hey Denver, which you can subscribe to right now by texting Denver to 66866. Peyton, Bree, Justine, this was fun. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
joining me.
Thanks,
you.
guys.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were me, Paul Caroli, and Olivia Jewel Love. Peyton Garcia writes our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocachetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver, and tell your spouse about us the next time you see them. You can sign up for that daily newsletter, Hey Denver, by texting Denver to 66866 and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week.